Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is now time for the best real estate podcast online. It is time for Lakeway Area Real Estate Talk Live with Mike and Dave Elkins, presented by Elite Realty Group. Here's what we're going to talk about. We get asked all the time, is the home I'm buying, is this a good investment for me to do this? Is this a good investment? Now, here's what we tell a lot of people every time that we get that question. Every home that you buy, even though you think and you plan on that you're going to live in that home like forever, like we're going to be here forever, we're going to stay in this house forever, the likelihood of that happening is very low. Most of the time people we see are staying in houses right now between 5 and 7 years. After those 5 to 7 years, and this is a report that we get from a nationwide, our National Association of Realtors tells us these things. They stay there 5 to 7 years, and then after that, they're looking to move, right?
Yes.
So everything that you buy, we tell people you want to look at what could be happening in the end. In 5 to 7 years, what do you need to be looking at? What do you need to be paying attention to? Because your home is literally probably, unless you just make some investments that are in other areas, but your home's probably going to be the largest investment thing that you invest in, the largest investment you'll ever make. So we're going to give you some things today to look at to say, hey, is the home that I'm purchasing, the home I'm about to buy, is it a good investment? You want to look at these things. Now, as I said a little bit earlier, this isn't a know-all, end-all, right?
Not at all.
This isn't legal or financial information. This is simply our opinion. We're going to tell you these things. You can take it and do with it what you want to. You can pay attention or you don't have to, right? We can
There will be no test at the end of this, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to sleep, go right ahead.
That's exactly right. So we're going to give you 4 signs that the home you are buying today is a good investment. Here's number 1, all right? You want to look at more than just a home, okay? More than just the home itself. But you want to take a look at the neighborhood. These are in no particular order, by the way.
Right.
You want to look at the neighborhood. Is the neighborhood that you're purchasing in, is it hopping? Is it booming? Are things happening? What's the age of the neighborhood? What's the age of the house? What's the demographics? All of those things that make up the neighborhood. And you can look at those. Again, are you in an up-and-coming neighborhood? Are you in a move-up neighborhood? Are you in a retirement neighborhood? Those all things you can look at and say, hey, is this a sign of things to come? Yeah. Is this a neighborhood of homes that maybe the homes that are in here need a lot of work?
Right.
Not that you can't put the work in your home and make it good, but then you got the best thing on the block, and you're not going to be able to get your money back out of it because of everything else around you. So you need to take a look at the neighborhood, see what's happening in it. Now, you have to be the one at the end of the day to make the decision. Is this neighborhood the right neighborhood for me? Is things happening? Right. Is this a neighborhood that in 5 to 7 years still going to be a good neighborhood? Right. Those are questions that each individual buyer has to ask.
I got a buddy that lives in Knoxville, and we have discussed this multiple times, but he has said that his best chance to have sold his house was 7 years ago.
I agree.
Because his neighborhood is older houses.
Right.
And again, some of them are kept up nice. Mm-hmm. Some of them, because they're older houses, they need more work. The price in the neighborhood has went down. Right. So the whole neighborhood as a whole has took a hit on price, on the value of their homes, because there's some houses that need a lot of work, and it's bringing everybody else's value down.
Yeah, and I actually just had a conversation with a guy yesterday about investments and neighborhoods and all those things. And his question was, so I can get a house at the right, I can just, his words exactly, where I can steal a house out of a neighborhood. But how much does the neighborhood make of? A lot. And I said, well, take it, when I say neighborhood, I said, I'm talking about the other houses, nothing to do with people.
No, the people.
The houses
yeah.
in the neighborhood. I said, that's the first thing. But I said, so you can get this house at a great deal. That's good. You're going to put your money in it, though, to bring it up to what you say is a livable, habitable house. Then is the neighborhood going to allow you to be able to get the price out of the house that maybe in another neighborhood you could be able to do that.
Again, we've said this 100 times. If the houses in your neighborhood is $150,000 houses, you don't want to have a $250,000 house in that neighborhood.
Right. Absolutely.
Not that your house is not worth it.
Absolutely.
It's just that the comparables around you
is not going to allow you to get that value out of your house. Value. Yeah.
You've heard people say all the time, if I could pick that house up and move it to here, I would sell it for this.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's exactly right. So the neighborhood does play. So again, signs you're making a good investment. The neighborhood will kind of tell you some of those things. You know, you want to, again, try to project. Now, you ain't going to sit there and do all this math yourself. You're not going to be that overly concerned about it. But on the reverse side of that, don't be surprised if in 5 to 7 years, if you didn't do the right thing and you're trying to get out of that house, it could be a little bit harder than you think it would be to get out of there. So that's number one. What do you got for number two?
Number two is your home systems. When I say home systems, I'm talking about your heat pump, your roof, anything like that. Any electrical, plumbing, any of your big stuff that I would say. Make sure that it's newer. If it's newer, then that's going to allow you to, when you come to sell, you're going to have more invested in it. You're going to have more. You're going to be able to get more return.
You're going to know more. I mean,
you're not going to have to worry about having to put that roof on, or having to put that, or having to do something with your water line.
Yes.
You buy an older house with older water lines, the old galvanized lines. You're going to have to spend a little bit of money to upgrade those.
Right, to bring that up.
Maybe not instantly, but those are going to have to be eventually brought up because they get that old soot like in the lines. I don't know what it is, but you get it all in your sinks.
It's like buildups, calcium, all kinds of stuff.
Again, roofs though. If you buy a house and it instantly needs a roof, there's money you're going to have to invest. It ain't going to come back out because again, we tell you all the time, you're supposed to have a good roof.
They expect you to have one. So those things, again, you got to take into consideration. You got to look at, because real estate, even though it is our home, it is the place that people live, they raise their kids, you make memories, so on and so forth. You still need to take a look at this on an investment side. You know, I am investing in this. Even though, again, you and a lot of people do feel as though I'm going to live there forever, but how many of those I'm going to live there forever have you sold for people in 2 to 3 years?
Absolutely. Again, it happens all the time. Situations change. When you buy a house in your 30s and you got 4 kids running around, when you're in your late 50s, you don't need that house.
No, it's too much.
When the kids are gone, you need to sell it and downsize.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Some people want to keep a big house, but the majority of the time they want to sell and downsize.
They want to do that. So again, we tell everybody, look at it as an investment. Look at a 5 to 7 years. What's your projection? So we're giving you today some signs you can look at and say, okay, this is looking at projecting out 5 to 7 years. These are some things I can look at. Again, the components of the house, the heat pumps,
when you got to start putting heat pumps and roofs,
a lot of money.
Talking about some big money.
That's what I was getting ready to say. A lot of money you can invest in those that you're not necessarily going to recoup all of that money back out of it
when you buy a house that has a 30-year-old heat pump in it, and in 2 years you got to put a $6,000 unit back in it. There just went in a way. There went $6,000.
There went a lot of money. There went a whole lot of money, is what that right there says. So again, that's the first 2. Here's number 3. All right, and this one's one that people, again, a lot of times they overlook because maybe they're not in this situation now. But another thing that you want to look at is the house I'm getting ready to buy, a good investment. You want to look at the schools. The schools that are in that area
will always be priorities,
so on and so forth. Because you may not, right now, you may not even have kids, you may not, but maybe the person that you're going to sell to in 5 to 7 years, that's what they're looking at.
Absolutely.
Right? Now, when we say look at schools, again, look at the proximity of those schools. You know, where we're from back up in West Virginia, there's kids, man, that ride a bus forever to get to a school. That's not kind of that way in the area that we are here, but there are still some that have a good haul, change over 2 or 3 times on a school bus to still get to the schools even here in the area where we live. And depending on where you're watching us from around the country, it could be that way where you're at. So when we say schools, I'm not saying they're like a top level tier school. You want good schools to teach your kids. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying even your proximity, because if your child's active in school, you're going to be spending time after school there, sports, athletics, going to open houses, teacher meetings, all those things. Just the proximity of the school to the place that you're at sometimes is a big deal when you go on, again, a resale of that. So you want to look at, now again, hopefully the school and the district that you're in is just a great,
and a lot of times, like I said, there's tons of good schools. There's good schools all around, but it's a lot of times is that, You hear it a lot kind of around here. I went to Morristown East.
Right.
I want my kid to go to Morristown East.
Right.
So I'm going to make sure I'm on that certain
I want to
town
be in that district.
so they can go. I went to Russellville. I want my kids to go to Russellville.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just that that's the preference.
You've got to just pay attention to those things. And again, that's what you want to be looking for.
I never realized until I started selling real estate to the people that move in here and stuff, that those are big research things.
Major.
Like they get on websites and just research forever on overall academic scores and stuff like that. People research the hound out of those whenever they're moving in here with kids.
Yeah, and a lot of times when you're like we are, we're very, very fortunate here in the Lakeway area. We got great schools. Yeah, we have great schools. Yeah. Every school here, they're great schools. All of them are. But some other parts, maybe that's not the case.
Right.
Again, we're fortunate. So people coming in here, that's one of the first things they start researching is looking at those schools. Yeah. Not necessarily because anything to do with an investment in real estate. They want to make sure their kids got good school teachers. Who can blame them for that, right? Absolutely. Who can blame them for that? So that's number 3. What do you got for number 4?
So number 4 is make sure that your floor plan is family friendly.
Gotcha.
So make sure it's laid out because, again, you're thinking that a lot of times if you're, like I just said, the people that's moving out, maybe you've had this house, you raised your kids there, now you're moving out. Right. You want it to be family friendly. That way people who've got kids, they can come in and it's, it's accessible or user friendly to them.
Right. And you got to think about, when you go talking about a floor plan of a house, the investment of that, you can change a house to be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, you can make it whatever.
For the right amount of money, you can do anything. Yeah. So a lot of people will look at it and say, I ain't worried about the floor plan. I can fix that to whatever. Right. True story.
Yes.
However, when you go investing that money in there, it's going to take money for you as the homeowner to invest in that house.
Right.
Unless you're adding major square foot, you're not necessarily going to get all that investment back out of that house.
Right.
So again, you can change it, yes, to make it anything you want to.
Right.
But a good open floor plan, family friendly environment.
You've seen people take 3-bedroom homes and turn them into 2-bedroom homes and make a huge master.
Right.
Now, to some people, that's very enticing.
That's great. Yeah.
But to a family who has 2 kids,
right,
it's not very enticing anymore.
And it could hurt you on your investment, on your resale.
Right, exactly.
So those are the things you got to look at. You want to just take your, again, we say this so often. You get in the home buying process. That's one of the reasons it's good to work with a good professional because you get in that process and it just gets going fast. You get excited. Everybody gets excited. If you got kids, they get excited. Right. And you literally go look at these houses and you don't think about nothing but the house. Right. You look at then and there and
you fall in love with that house. You forget where it's at.
Yes, you should really be looking at a whole lot. There's many more things you should be looking for in that house. Does that mean that if it doesn't have a brand new heat pump in it, you shouldn't buy it? No, that's not what we're saying. But we're saying, again, look at these things and real estate especially as an investment vehicle, because there is a good chance you're not going to stay there forever in that house.
I think we've kind of said this before, but that's another positive, a plug for working with a realtor is normally when you first talk to somebody, if I'm talking to you, you're wanting to buy a house, I kind of ask you, what are your wants?
Right.
What do you want? What do you need out of the house? And so I'm going to have that wrote down somewhere. I'm going to have that memorized in my phone, whatever.
Yeah.
So when we go out and look at these houses, or you call me about a house and say, hey, I saw this one.
Right.
I'm not saying that I won't go show you that house,
right?
But I will also come back and remind you, hey, what about this?
Yeah,
absolutely. This was important to you before you started really looking.
Yeah.
What happened?
What's going on with it now?
Yes.
Yeah, you want to make sure, again, that's good things just for you to do, for you to watch over, for you to look, for you to take and make sure, again, that you get all of that into there, because keeping yourself grounded in the real estate process, it's a big thing. It's a big thing.
It's an exciting time.
It is very exciting.
We thank each and every one of you for listening to today's podcast. Tune in for future episodes by subscribing to our channel and get the latest and greatest real estate information right here on Lakeway Area Real Estate Talk Live, presented by Elite Realty Group. Until next time, have a great and blessed day.